Kingdom of Cards, we've just released the Bumper Video Game Quiz book featuring over 1,000 questions.
It features 1,000 questions plus from everything in gaming from 1962 to the present day, and it's available from Amazon worldwide, and the link is in the description below. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Thank you, bye.
Oh yeah, so for you, the emotional...
Yeah, the emotion... Like, the only times I get emotional playing, like, finishing video games or playing video games, is never to do with the story, because I can never keep up with video game stories, because I play games in such a fractured way. It's like, I can't keep focused on a story for, like, 20 hours of gameplay or whatever. It just loses me.
Yeah.
But, I have been emotional at the end of amazing games, regardless of the story, like, because it's been such an amazing experience, like, I felt emotion at having finished it, because it's like, oh, okay, that's over, like, that experience is now over, sort of thing.
Oh, so not because it's like tugging on your heartstrings or sentimental,
No,
just not necessarily like that kind of response, but just to maybe a feeling euphoria, like a slight sadness sort of.
Yeah, like that's done now. I'm not going to be able to retrieve that kind of feeling I had playing that particular game.
It's exactly why I won't replay Monkey Island, because it's in such a perfect glass box in my mind that I just don't want to touch it. Like, I think about it with such fondness. And that's Monkey Island 3.
Jesus.
It's not, it's the first one. But
the second one had a really weirdly this moving ending, didn't it? 'Cause it's like,
I just remember, I think I played it and I was quite young, so I just remember being a little bit confused by it, because it's still the big whoop stuff, isn't it? And then their children.
Spoiler.
Yeah, sorry, Ron. Is it Ron Gilbert or Rod Gilbert? This is unfunny, man. Yeah, at the end of the big whoop, and I remember that part, but I didn't understand. I was too young to kind of piece it all together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it.
Because Rupert's far, far older than I am.
So much older.
I'm 35!
Rise Boss guessed my age at 28 today. I was saying, that makes me 2 years younger than Rai.
Who looks young?
Who looks young. Because she's only 14.
Stone. The fatter you are, the younger you look. Yeah, like if you get like to a certain weight, like it just completely, you expand so much that all the wrinkles disappear and just become shiny and rounded.
I wonder if that's actually true.
John Candy was 96.
Stone.
It's a little callback to something we said a few minutes ago.
Literally seconds ago.
Yeah. Right then. So this is episode, I think it could be 10. Because we got the Christmas one. Today is what's the date today?
It is the 7th.
So yeah, we're going to squeeze in on the 14th Christmas one. We're going to talk about games of the decade. But because we haven't done this for a few weeks, we're going to talk about a little catch-up one. Just all the stuff we've kind of...
Because we have actually, between us, played quite a lot.
We have, yeah.
Over the last few weeks. So we might as well jump straight into it, because we've got quite a lot to cover.
Okie dokie.
So your first one is a game called Sparklight.
Or after this, I'll do Super Epic, because I've got all my notes and emailed them to Rupert. So, yeah, Sparklight it's good. It reminded me a lot of Moonlighter, because it's kind of got that 16-bit aesthetic, and it's quite colourful and bright, and the music's really good. It reminded me of Shining Force, and oddly a Tears for Fears track at one point as well.
Okay.
So it's got that sort of roguelite aspect that's well used.
Yeah.
So where it's you're on like an airship which acts as like a hub, and you unlock sort of different items and weapons to sort of go down on the ground, and then as you make your way through these screens attacking enemies and going into dungeons, you unlock like a hammer that can smash rock, or these balloons that can blow up certain things, when you
Metroidvania type.
It's top down, yeah. So but it's very much when you die, you get picked up and taken back on the hub. And you don't lose your sparklight to the titular sparklight. There's like kind of an ore which is collected, but it also acts as the currency of the game.
Sounds awesome.
So you sort of you pick that up, and that you use that to upgrade like a workshop on the hub, and you make your way through these different areas and solve sort of puzzles, very Zelda-like puzzles. Where you unlock say a crossbow, and with that you can shoot. A switch that opens a path, that sort of thing. So it's really good, and the way that they use the procedural sort of generation is like Moonlighter with a tile set.
Mm.
So you'll go down on, there'll be, it's called every time you die, it sort of fractures. So you go down and it's all shifted round, but you'll have a dungeon.
Oh, so there's like a kind of like narrative reason for the
Yes.
procedural generation. Yeah.
But it's not, it's never gets to a point where you just can't do anything because it's always the same things, just shifted around slightly, and of course it's screen by screen. So it basically shifts the tile sets around, which is nice because, you'll die a few times before you realise, oh, actually I can use that item I've got to now go to that tunnel I found, but obviously the tunnel will be in a different place.
Mm.
So you work your way around like that. And it was a good game, a really nice game. And it did remind me a lot of Moonlighter. So
Which is fine, because Moonlighter is a good game.
Although, I don't think it's as good as Moonlighter because I couldn't fleece people in a shop that I was running.
It's so funny.
It's so funny.
Such a funny game. So, Fractured Minds is...
before we do Fractured Minds,
okay.
Super Epic, which was Numbskulls. Sorry, I forgot to write in the email. This was very much a Metroidvania.
Okay.
But with, again, a 16-bit sort of aesthetic where you play a raccoon on top of a llama, obviously. And you in the game, you're sort of old-school loving, nostalgic gamers. And the gaming industry in the game is run by this company called... Oh god, it's like Regnant Corp, and they are effectively a massive multinational company that all deal in like loot boxes and microtransactions, and they're run by pigs. It's a very heavy-handed metaphor. I think it's a French or Spanish company that made the game, so that some of the dialogue is a little bit, could do with a bit of tweaking, but that's fine. It's never just completely unreadable.
Yeah.
So you work through the game, and it's very Metroidvania. Like you pick up weapons that can allow you to go to different areas, like certain bombs for certain walls. And there's a really cool twist on it where you can see QR codes in the backgrounds of some things, and there'll be like a beam that stops you walking through, and then a box which has something in it that isn't key to progress, but could be like a tasty bit of armor that could make the bosses easier. And it's all done in 2D. And you scan the QR code, and it takes you to like a mini game on your phone, which is obviously just a piss take of the games this company's making. It's like Candy Crush Saga, Crosshair Road app at my cheek there. And what happens is you have to get like, those games, I don't know what they're called because I don't play mobile phone games, where you tap the screen and you're like a bird that flaps.
Right, yeah, like Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird, is it literally called that? And you sort of have to, and when you get to like, through 20 gates or whatever, the game will crash, and then it'll come up with like an error code, and you put that error code on the keypad in the game on the Switch, and then it unlocks the laser beam. And they were like the best parts of the game, because I thought that's really nice. It's kind of, takes you out of it a little bit. And the game was good, and it was funny, and it was kind of good-natured. But what happened was I played it for 2 or 3 days when I was ill. And 2 or 3 days in, I thought I stopped, and I basically had 2 days in bed. And then when I got back to it, I had no idea what was going on, because the map is diabolical. The map in it is a grid it's all white and pink, and it shows where you've been and when you haven't been, and where there's like lifts and save points.
This is 2D, right?
This is 2D.
So you can't really go wrong with a map, surely.
It doesn't. What it does is, say you reach a room where there's a dead end.
Yes.
It doesn't show you a dead end on the map. So you're looking at these labyrinthine corridors, and you see all these offshoots, and you think, well, I don't know if that's a dead end or if that was a door I couldn't get through. And there's no legend.
Yeah.
So you when you don't play it for a day or two, you go back to it, look at the map, and you think, could be anything.
Because normally you go back to a Metroidvania, look at the map, and think, right, well,
that's what I got up to.
See, there's no dead end there, so I should go back there and see if I'm now.
And the whole thing is, although it's not floors, as in you're obviously supposed to be in an office building, working your way to the top, but it doesn't work like that. The floors can be anywhere on the map, if you know what I mean. It's just all spread out, but they're not marked. That you just see like a lift icon. So you've got 8 lift icons that represent the 8 floors, but you don't know which floor they represent.
Ooh.
So at one point, and weirdly, I reviewed this. Who sent me the code? I got Numbskulls themselves, who published it, sent me the code, and I'm on a group on Twitter with a load of other people reviewing it, and 3 of us have the same problem where you get to a certain point and there's a key for a door you need to open, and we all missed it. And of course the map is so bad that I just had to go back to the start and just completely wander through the entire game again, because I couldn't whittle it down. I thought instead of just guessing, I may as well methodically do it, and I did happen across it.
It kind of highlights the importance, especially in Metroidvanias,
of a good map system.
Of a good mapping system, and like, because by their nature they require a certain amount of exploration and backtracking, but the trick is to get the balance right so that it doesn't become a chore, because that's the worst thing.
It was I know one person just had to say, "Oh look, I don't know where this key is," and the developer told them, and it was the worst aspect of it. And the game is about, I'd say, like 7 to 8 hours long, and the last hour or two was a real grind. It got to the point where the enemies would just, because when you go off and on the screen they respawn, obviously because you backtrack so much, which is fine because it makes the game a bit more interesting. But by the end of it, I was so overpowered that the enemies weren't really touching me even when they hit me, and I was just kind of running past them and getting hit and not caring about it, just thinking I'm ready for this to end now, because it's just, the end is like the map, it sort of does that, and you're just going through these repetitive screens, and I thought this should have been an hour or two shorter, really, because it kind of ran out of steam. The minigame ideas had gone by, and I'd unlocked so much stuff. It felt like an hour trimmed off the end would have been perfect. It is a good game, and I would maybe play it again, but the map system does need to be overhauled, hopefully in a patch or something, because that's like the worst part of it.
And it's called Super Epic.
Super Epic, and it was a good game. It's definitely like a 7 or 8 out of 10, but you couldn't go away from it and come back. You'd have to play through it in like a couple of settings, otherwise you'll be completely lost.
Okay, so Fractured Minds.
This is one, I think it's maybe a girl called Emily Mitchell that won in 2017 like a Young Developers Award.
Right.
And it's an interesting one because, do you know about this?
You've mentioned it to me.
It's a short game, it's about 20 minutes, and I think it's only like a £1 or £2. And it's done with the Unreal Engine, so it's sort of 3D, and it runs pretty nicely on the Switch. But it's a game about mental health, and I think the designer, I'm going to say Emily Mitchell because I'm pretty sure that's her name, but she designed it as a way to sort of appeal to someone with mental health issues, so so they don't feel alone, and to show that other people can relate. But of course, I don't particularly have mental health issues, so when I was playing it, a lot of the metaphors were like a little bit lost on me. Like there's a bit where you look for a key in a room, and then there's a pin the tail on the donkey thing, and I know that it sounds really basic, and I kind of enjoyed the atmosphere. The music is great, but when it got to the end, I thought that was like a cool game for like a young developer. Like the fact that someone who was like 16, 17 has made this is quite impressive. But a lot of the more heavy duty topics were a little bit lost on me.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable enough in sort of dismissing them, because obviously I'm not the target audience.
Yeah.
So
it feels a bit more like a calling card than a full game.
yes, I'd be really interested to speak to someone who can relate to the issues the game is addressing and see what they think from it. Take from it, sorry. So it's definitely worth a look if that appeals to you, and it would be cool to see in the comments if you took from it more than I did, which I'm assuming a lot of people will.
Yeah.
I was
Well, for £1 or £2, you might as well give it a go.
Exactly, yeah. And it's just nice to support young developers, and I think it's 80% or 50% of the proceeds go towards a charity which has been set up for it, which I'll put in the description here because I've forgotten what it's called at the moment.
So that's Fractured Minds.
Fractured Minds. So a cool little game.
How about the 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas?
Who's the bad guy in that?
Oh, I can't remember. Probably Michael Wincott.
Or Doug Ray Scott. If Michael Wincott was in it, we would know.
That
You know that.
That film was John McTiernan. I think it was his last one before he went to prison.
John McTiernan is a dour man. Have you ever seen Into
I'm not
This?
surprised. He went to prison for, what, 7 or 8 years or something, didn't he?
Was it
Tax evasion, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, he's a tinker. He's he doesn't really have much time for liberal snowflakes, put it that way.
That's what they used to shout at my dad. They used to shout, "Tinker, tinker, heavy drinker." And that was just what my mum used to shout at him.
Yeah, was he there for work?
Was he there
He said for work. For the park.
the park. And he carried a bag which clinked as he walked.
I'm just gonna go and sell these.
I'm just going to go and sell these 16 cans of super lager.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do like how Americans call it malt liquor and we call it super lager. Brilliant. What were we talking about?
I can't
Oh, the
remember.
13th Doll.
13th
So
Doll,
the
yes.
13th Doll is a fan remake of The Seventh Guest, a game which is closer to my heart than All the Butter.
So you were the perfect person to review this, really.
Yeah,
because-
I got my Spotify, the end of your Spotify thing you get through, and my most listened to artist of the year was George Fatman Sanger's Seventh Guest soundtrack, 10 hours. 10 hours of that. I did not care, because the music's amazing.
Well, how do you do a remake of it? I mean, isn't it FMV though? Like,
Yes, it is. It's
so. What did they recreate all the FMV sequences?
well. for anyone out there who's not familiar with The Seventh Guest, it was like a game released in 1993 that, as Rupert said, was FMV heavy. I played it originally on the Philips CDI. I really got the peak of that system.
Was that the one with like literally a remote control for a controller?
Infrared remote control. Oh my god. Seventh Guest and games like Little Devil and Burn Cycle weren't too bad because they were basically interactive sort of things. Anything else, you're struggling. You will struggle.
I think Microcosm might have come out on CDI, did it? Was that 3DO? It was definitely on CD32 because I had it. That's the one with the
I really wanted to play
pre-rendered
sports football on
background,
CD32.
and like it was like kind of inner space. So you're like,
But you were flying through like tubes and stuff when you were
tubes,
fleshy
but,
tubes.
yeah, fleshy tubes sort of thing. So it's like inner space.
So it's Inner Space with Dennis Quaid.
Yes, with a Rick Wakeman soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah.
Does he do this at any point?
I think he does occasionally press some keys. Yeah, so it's all it's basically Space Harrier, and I hate those games.
Yeah, I struggle.
hate
It's like
those
Burning
games.
Force. Burning Force, Burning Rangers on the Mega Drive.
Burn Cycle? Wasn't it Burns?
Oh, actually, well, now that we've talked about it, a Burn Cycle. Yeah, this
Was that one of them? I don't know. Was that a racing game? That had pre-rendered backgrounds, didn't it?
What are we talking about?
Burn
Burn Cycle. No, that was a really cool. You played someone called like Saul Cutter, and he's got a bomb in his head that he's got to take out, much like Time Bomb with Michael Biehn.
So it didn't have was it?
It was kind of like Seventh Guest. It was like FMV.
Oh right. Oh okay. So yeah. So it had the digitized graphics and stuff.
So Seventh Guest is a puzzle game. It's all sort of like chess-based puzzles and logic-based puzzles, Pipe Mania things, but set in like a spooky, FMV heavy adventure game, which was fine, and I still play it now. Good music is amazing. So this fan base thing has gone on since 2005, and they've, to put it in perspective, in 1993 the Seventh Guest cost, I think it was $3 or $4 million to make, and the budget for this game was £60,000. So obviously you're not going to get top rates. It's going to be like amateur actors and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the picture quality isn't going to be an issue nowadays, but yeah, acting that's the key.
So what they've done is they kind of stuck really, really closely to the original formula. So it's a FMV, which is like clearly filmed in high definition, but the acting is kind of quite amateurish, and it sort of expands on the original story, which is fine. But if you didn't play Seventh Guest, you've no reason to play the 13th Doll, because it is like I found it a little bit of a slog. Where it's split into two halves. So you've got the doctor of the institute that Tad, the boy from the end of the original Seventh Guest, was committed to, or you can play Tad. So obviously I just played Tad because I know his story, and then I played through a little bit of it with the doctor. But the problem is, and what I realise now about the Seventh Guest, the kind of worst part of it were the puzzles. Like, the atmosphere was great, the music was great, but the puzzles were just a bit tedious. And of course, the interface being like back in the days when it was just constantly reading off the CD was kind of really stop-starty. You know, you say for instance there's a chess puzzle and you've got to move these 4 bishops to this side and this to this side. You click on one and it'll do like an animation, and then it'll come back in, and then you click where you want it to move and it'll do an animation and then load for a second. So everything's quite clunky, and they've kept that, and it really, really affects the game negatively, because it just yes, it's true to the original game, but just as quality of life now, it's like I just wouldn't mind this being
It's
a
the
bit
classic
smoother.
problem, isn't it? How much of the original experience do you want to keep?
And in all fairness to them, it is like, even down to the sort of the way the bony finger wags and the eyeballs roll when you select certain things. It's very much like the original game, and you go after a sort of brief introduction sequence. You go back to the house, and it is perfectly recreated. But I just thought, I realised how much of the Seventh Guest is nostalgic for me, and as a game now, what I play when I go back to the Seventh Guest is I'm there for the atmosphere and the music.
Yeah.
I'm not there for the puzzles, and I realised that focusing so heavily on the puzzles in this new game, it kind of shows a lot of the flaws that were in the original.
Yeah, it sounds like a labour of love.
Yeah, and if you were a fan of the Seventh Guest, it's definitely worth a goosey, because they've obviously put a lot of effort into it. I think it was a load of the production development team was sort of spread all around the world, and it's taken them so long, obviously, to get it together. And it's cool, but it's not something I would particularly recommend to someone like you who's never really been on the Seventh Guest.
I don't.
I mean, I'm hip deep into it.
I can't imagine
and even I
myself
thought,
getting much out of that, to be honest.
yeah. So, like I say, a labour of love. Cool if you're a fan of the Seventh Guest.
The 13th Doll.
That was it.
Close to the Sun.
This was the one that a lot of people said was like BioShock. And it isn't. Because it's nothing like Bioshock. It's a walking simulator, effectively. So it just uses the same font as Bioshock on the title screen. So it's set.
It's a lofty claim, isn't it? A game I've never heard of they're saying it's like Bioshock. I don't believe you.
It's just because it's set. It's got the same sort of steampunk aesthetic, and it's set at the same sort of time period. But the gameplay is nothing like Bioshock. So you play a woman whose sister goes missing, and she's sort of this head researcher on this vessel, which unfortunately I played this a little while ago. It escapes me now. But you're on this huge vessel and it focuses on the rivalry between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison.
Okay,
that's right. Thomas Edison was right, isn't
Yeah.
it? So it's all sort of, they're trying to sort of sabotage each other, and Tesla's bitten this huge. It's going to really Helios. I think the ship's called Helios. This huge boat full of like the greatest minds of the time to just go on there and just do their research, sort of. And it's a nice idea. And obviously you go on there, and it's all kicked off, and there's no one around. So again, you're walking around, and the puzzles are fine, and you're doing these sort of simple little puzzle pieces and exploring the ship, and you're being guided by Tesla and coming across other people you don't know if you can trust or not. And it was fine. But it's only about 4 hours long. And that's fine, because for a walking simulator, effectively, there are puzzles. There's no combat in it or anything.
Yeah. It's just more about atmosphere.
Yeah.
Picking up scraps of the story.
Yes. And sort of, you pick up like a newspaper article and explain a little bit of the background. And there are some nice moments in it. It doesn't rely on jump scares. It's much more of a kind of meandering, wandering on the ship and just seeing the different parts, learning about Tesla and Edison a little bit, and
seeing
the story
how
kind
their
of coming
ambition
together.
ran away from them.
Yeah.
And they flew too close to the sun. See? That's what.
That's the title of the game. Close to the last few words of what you said. Then is the title "Close to the Sun."
Oh yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
So it was good, but I just think that my time with walking simulators is at an end. Like if that was like one of the first I'd played, I'd think, oh, that was quite cool actually. 4 hours, boom, nice little story, compactly told, boom, done, dead. But the ending, I'll say twist. You can see it coming over in a rusted suit of armour under the horizon on horseback, shooting its way towards you, and you're like, all right, shouting, it's happening. So it was good, but it depends on your view of kind of. I'll just call it a walking simulator. It's a light adventure sort of thing.
Something I never played. Cool. Okay, Close to the Sun. That is.
Yeah, Close to the Sun.
Next. Travis Strikes Again.
Well, you can jump in on this.
Yes, it's been a while since I played it because.
Well,
What did you review then? Because it came out on Switch ages ago. It's come out on PC now.
PS4.
PS4. Okay.
I don't know if it's like a remaster.
I never played any of the Travis games before.
No, they're on the Wii, weren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
I think I played one or saw someone play one briefly.
Humour.
Suda 51.
Yeah.
Suda 51.
You'll know better than me, but. Because you played it more recently, but I thought it was quite forgettable, so it was quite average. It was particularly bad, but just it felt to me like no better than an indie game you might play. You might pick up in a bundle and you play for a bit and think, okay, that was fun, but forgettable. But that's a full price release.
Yes,
that is a full price release, and it is basic.
Yeah,
it's top down, isn't it?
Yeah, you are being much more lenient with it than I think I was, because what I found with it was my friend Chris tends to play like top down twin stick shooters whenever he comes around, and I put it on, and there's this really full on introduction sequence which is really bonkers and zany, all these characters and all this like quick cuts and sort of sharp humour, and then the game starts and it's just really tedious, and all of that just goes straight out the window pretty much.
And it's sort of a top down isometric, running around like little arenas, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've got like it's got this tedious thing where you've got this like energy sword, but after a few hits you need to charge it by shaking the pad or like pressing some buttons.
Yeah.
And it just makes the game slightly tedious. Yeah. And it happens every few seconds, so you're constantly like shaking the pad, kill, shake the pad.
Yeah.
And you can't. It kind of breaks up the. It breaks up the flow of it.
Yeah.
So I played it with my friend Chris for like 50 minutes, and he just point blank said, "Can we turn this off? I'm not enjoying this." So I had to play it by myself, and the music is like down, 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 and it does not change. And after about 25 minutes, I muted it and carried on playing, and I beat a few of the bosses and thought, "This is just
it really doesn't
so
change
basic."
the whole way through.
Yeah. I played it for a few hours, and I thought, I'm just not getting anything from this. And what I found as well is it's really smooth, but because
Yes.
it's pretty basic, so there's no reason for
Yeah.
it to not be smooth. And when I was hitting the enemies, one of the things that got on my nerves was you're doing your combo, looking at your sword meter, because obviously that goes down, you have to recharge it and stuff. And the numbers of the hit points that you're taking off float
Yeah.
above the enemies. And
Yeah.
because some enemies do unstoppable strikes, you have to really keep your eye on them. And the numbers that come up when you hit them block them. So I was just getting hit because I could see the numbers coming off them,
Yeah.
and that got on my nerves, and that didn't stop either. So it just beat me into submission. I just thought I'm not getting anything from this, and I'm assuming the humor and the character of Suda51's games are selling point, and I thought,
guess so.
It just seems like random for the sake of being random.
Yeah, it seemed quite juvenile, really. Just like all like the wacky kind of irreverent humour. And it's like, yeah, it was the very definition. It felt a bit, I don't know, well, like 10 years ago or something like that. That kind of random humour you get.
Irritating.
Yeah, very
The
irritating.
thing is, in
and
real life,
grating.
if anyone ever says to you, "Oh, you've got to meet my friend. He's really funny. He's so random," you know he's just a dickhead.
Yeah, because before that it would have been like, he's zany, and
Yeah.
you would have hated that person as well.
Yeah. Or quirky. All
Yeah.
words that you think, I'm not going to get on with them.
Yeah.
And you put that in a game and you don't get on with it.
No, and it's endless as well. You're like clicking through, this endless kind of like dialogue and stuff. It's like, okay, it's not funny. It's obviously not, there's no depth to it, but
No.
that's fine. But if it was funny, but it's not funny either, so it's like, okay, let's just
And
get...
the gameplay's so repetitive. It's not even like you click through that to get to the game and then you kind of enjoy it. It just feels a bit...
Yeah, it was very basic. It was kind of like, I was happy enough to just play through it because it was mindless, but yeah, it doesn't really change at all
No,
at any point.
not for me.
Not recommended. So that's Travis Strikes Again. Although they are making another Travis game, full Travis game, rather than this weird indie for 40 quid.
Oh, yeah. For 40 quid.
So Ritual, Crown of Horns?
Horns.
Crown of Horns, like this.
Like this, if you will. Which you can wear if you want, but I won't be able to hear you and they won't be able to lip read you. Yeah, that was good. That was a good game. That was... the story's really cool for that. It's sort of... you're an undead cowboy who sort of
Naturally.
comes back.
It's
And
not the one with Ron Perlman, is it? There is a game coming out with Ron Perlman as a cowboy.
I want to play that game.
What is it called?
Kronos?
We'll have to find out. Why don't you talk quickly and I'll find out
Okay,
what it
yeah.
is.
So, Ritual Crown of Horns. You play as sort of a bounty hunter gunslinger. Sort of works for the government in the 18th century, like an alternate 18th century, and you get sent to kill a witch. But what happens is you go there and you get slaughtered. She brings you back to life to act as a sort of guardian, and it turns out that this cult of horns is actually taken over, kind of like They Live, it's
Yeah.
behind the scenes. So you go through all the different states in America, and the game is effectively like an arena shooter. So the witch has to cleanse the areas. So it'll be like it's top down and a twin stick shooter, and there's a sort of small area, and you have to stop waves of enemies for the 3 or 4 minutes or whatever it takes you to cast this spell. Single player. But it's really weirdly addictive because it's not just mindless shooting. The way that you can't just shoot in all directions, you have to like hold down L2 to aim and R2 to shoot. So you have to kind of manage your reload times and the guns you've got, because it's not just like, you can just pound through everything.
It already
You
sounds like
can
it's
get
got more
overwhelmed.
depth than
Travis?
Travis Strikes Again.
Yeah. And usually I'm not a big fan of arena shooters unless they're multiplayer.
Yeah.
But I was playing it and I thought, actually, this is quite cool. The music is really saucy. It's like, do you remember the film Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis, 1995?
I do.
And
Walter Hill's finest moment.
it
It's
stars Patrick Kirkpatrick when he gets
It's
shot
not his
and
finest moment.
flies
Yeah.
out of the door about 60 feet. Good. He was the Sandman in a Jean-Claude Van Damme film as well. He was, and it doesn't matter. The one reason he gets caught and put in prison doesn't matter. And yet,
The Jean-Claude Van Damme film where he gets put in prison.
and then at the end of it, he kills him by sticking the guy's head in a pipe. And then he keeps on laughing at him, and he just like twists it. It's really buzzing. He kind of pushes his head up a little bit, and that kills
I
him.
want to say Fortress, but that's Christophe Lamb.
Yeah, and obviously Vernon Wells is in that as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
God.
He looks a bit iffy then. So
Yeah,
Rich-
that was probably like early 90s as well, wasn't it?
It was so early. It was so early. Like
Vernon Wells was on the wane.
on the John. So
Jesus.
yeah, Ritual Crown of Horns, really cool twin stick shooter, and the music is like Raikuda, like really distorted, low tuned slide guitar. Like,
Sounds like the best game ever made.
Really, really like moody.
Didn't Raikuda do the music for
The Last Man Standing.
Last Man Standing.
So it's fantastic. You should listen to Ryukuda as well. But so it's just really cool. A little bit of depth to it as well. And what's nice is you'll go to some places and you'll just get overwhelmed, or like there'll be enemies with shields because they're all swarming to the witch to stop her casting these cleansing spells. And you'll go there and be completely overwhelmed, and then you'll be like, okay, I'll just try another level because there's like 3 paths you can take, and you'll go to another one. And then you'll scrape through it, and you'll be like, "Oh, I've unlocked a crossbow, which gets 3 in 1." So like carrots and chips. So you get 3 in 1, or like a shotgun that obviously has a spread. So then you'll go back to when you struggled on, and you'll scrape through that, and it's tough, but it's really rewarding.
Okay.
The amount of times that my health is being chipped away, and the timer hits 0 just as someone is swinging an axe at me, and then the cleansing spell kills them, and genuinely. Like, that was close. So yeah, really cool little game on the Switch. Really cool game.
Nice. So that's everything on this list. Oh no, we got a couple more down here. Don't you worry. We saved the best for second
I
last.
thought you were going to say Saved by the Bell then. Oh yeah, play the game of Saved by the Bell.
It's about time they made a game of
A
Saved by
text
the Bell.
adventure.
I've been waiting this long for a game of Saved by the Bell. A massive 80-hour Persona-like RPG based on Saved by the Bell.
It's so boring. Like the Persona games though.
Zombieland Double Tap.
Oh
Road
my
Trip.
god! I think in the last video, I said the Zombieland Double Tap.
We might have mentioned it before, but it was so forgettable.
I
that we've
think the
already-
last time we did a video, I said I just got it and installed it and looked at the option screen. And I'd
Oh
already
yeah,
done
that was it. Yeah. And then we played it. Thought, and then you played it all the way through, Chris.
Yeah,
and
it was
wow.
so bad. Like it was because it's a full price game, which is the problem. If it was like 10, 15 quid, whatever, but it's a full price game and it's so bland. It's like Hunt of the Reckoning Wayward, but it's like a PS2 budget game basically. And you're playing it, and you're talking about skipping dialogue. My God, I was skipping the dialogue so fast. Because I thought I don't want to hear you talk. I don't want to hear the words you're saying because they're so bad.
Yeah, but at least they got the real actors in.
I think maybe one of them. I think maybe.
Oh, that's even more depressing. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was completely joking. I know they didn't get the actors in, but if they got like one of them,
I didn't know because the thing is they're
Well,
all so
it-
irritating. It's also like
I can't
snarky.
imagine who they would have actually got in. When you think-
Abigail Breslin.
Abigail Breslin's the only one they might be able
I
to get
think
in.
it was Abigail Breslin, but again,
But she must have been embarrassed. She would have. She would have been like. She would have come to the studio and thought, "Oh, it's going to be awesome to see Woody again," and that. And then she turns up and it's just some guy who looks a bit like Woody Harrelson, like dressed like him.
even though he's a voice actor, he looks like him. as
Yeah,
well.
he's just dressed up like him,
Yeah, it's
like Joey's twin in Friends.
It's just hey, let's pump 'em and dump 'em. I can't believe you said that. What do you mean? You know what I mean. Oh my God. So yeah, I was after about an hour or two. I said to Chris, "Can we just stop playing this because it's so bland?" And he said, "No, I want to finish it because I can't believe it's this bad, and I have to finish to see if anything changes." No. And when you finish the game after like 3 hours, there's no boss, it's just constant waves of enemies, and just there's no joy in shooting. And the aiming does this. It's a twin stick shooter. It's like a crap version of Dead Nation. So where the aiming is like slightly fluttery. So
Yeah,
you
I
kind of
found
aim
that.
and you're like, I don't feel like I'm fully in
feels like
control.
it's snapping two enemies, but of course,
But there's so
because
many of
there's so
them,
many
it
enemies,
just kind
it's
of-
just twitching between them. It's
Yeah,
like,
it was never satisfying. None of the weapons are satisfying, and it's got this. There's so many. Again, I played this a while ago now, but there's so many like weird limitations. Like you've got a pistol with infinite ammo, and you've got. What am I looking? The camera's there, isn't it? Yeah. I keep on look. I don't know where I'm looking when I look up. There. You pick up. You've got a pistol with infinite ammo, so you pick up a shotgun
yes.
with like say 60 bullets and 60 shells, and you think, right, I'll keep that for later on. Da, 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 da. You can't flick between guns, so whatever you pick up you just have to use until it's gone, then you go back to your pistols. You can't
So there's no actual like tactic. There's no strategy whatsoever.
you just pick up whatever, and there's no point in picking up melee weapons because you get hit whenever a zombie comes near you, so the whole game is just basically keeping them as far away as possible. So why would you pick up a melee weapon?
Pick up a melee weapon, and it's actually a hindrance.
Yeah. So half
Brilliant.
of the weapons in the game are hindrance. And when you finish the game, you unlock Rosario Dawson,
Right.
and I don't know why anyone would want to play through the game again anyway, but even if you did, she plays exactly the same as Woody Harrelson. So it's not even like it's a
Presumably
new
her voice
twist.
changes.
Didn't get that far. It voice might change. So yeah, it was just tiring, and I just thought I'm never ever playing that again, and I would never recommend it, even if it was like a $5 and you love twin stick shooters, and you've got
so
like a
many
friend who's
better
banging into them.
options.
Yeah, you could maybe then if it was like a few
Yeah.
quid, but even then you'd be pointing
There
and
are so
laughing
many
at
others
them.
that you could play.
That was the one.
Next
There-
Machina has been down to a $5 before, I'm sure.
You know, on Chrome. What was the one? Oh, there was a line in it. There was placeholder dialogue still in the game.
Oh yeah.
So when you like finish a level and it gives you like the points, you know, whoever gets the most points sort of thing. Like Woody Harrelson says something like, I gotta shoot him like my mama raised me. But then at one point at the end of the level, I pressed it and it went, I've got to shoot them like my mama raised me. And I thought, that was weird. And it was so weird, I thought, did I hear that properly? But then the next level, Woody Harrelson's voice said it.
Oh really?
And I thought they've left placeholder dialogue in the game.
That's
Don't
bad.
play that game.
Weird movie time, which is rubbish. Strange. The final one on your list is Trine 4. Again, I can't remember how much we've actually talked about this, but we've played it quite extensively now.
And we're going to play it today.
We're going to finish it today.
It's amazing, is what it
It's
is.
so good.
It's just, there's something about cooperative puzzle games when they work that
Yeah.
it's bliss. And with Trine, I last played Trine 3 on the Switch, and I played that single player, and that was more, it went into more 2.5D.
Yeah.
So it was like pseudo 3D, and that was cool. But the fact that it's like they've completely and utterly nailed the formula in Trine 4.
Yeah.
And it's so fun.
It's the only one I've played extensively, really. I mean, I've played the
Yeah.
other ones a bit.
It runs beautifully. It's like 60 FPS. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Like when you go into some of the gardens, it's generally just like a really beautiful scene.
Yeah.
And then you've got these really cool like physics-based puzzles. And the one thing I cannot stand in any game are light refraction puzzles. And luckily you don't mind them. So
Some of them are
cannot
so
stand them.
complicated. You're bouncing stuff off everywhere.
Everywhere, off through
Yeah,
portals.
and you're like having to hold up mirrors with magic while someone bounces light off it. Oh,
But you were like. So yeah, that's just an amazing puzzle game.
I can't wait to try and remember the controls in that game.
I've got just the thing. I'll jump off this platform, create a boulder in midair, and fall to my death. Okay, Dad.
Oh, it's so funny that like after we played it for like 5 hours solid, I think.
Yeah.
And even then, we were just doing rubbish things. Like
Yeah, you try to do
jumping.
something,
You'd
yeah.
like jump because you want to jump and like swing on something, but you jump, fire an arrow at the ground or something, and then like hit an enemy and bounce off the edge and just die. And it's like, I know better than this. I can be better than
Why
this.
am I so bad? But it's just a funny game, really, really good.
It is.
And for all the family as well, because it's just kind of... And the cutscenes are really cool. They're very, like, Disney-ish, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, sort of loose-limbed characters and, like, sort of, you know, spouty dialogue.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's really nicely made. Good production values.
And that's me done.
Okie dokie. Right, so what have I been playing? Actually, you've been playing Forza Horizon as well, haven't you? Is it Forza Horizon?
Forza Horizon 4, yeah.
Yeah. Because I've been playing Grid 2. and
Forza Motorsport Forza, I think.
I've been playing Grid 2. I don't know why specifically I chose Grid 2. I think it's just because it's on Steam. It was on my Steam list. I thought, I have no idea where I got that. Like, it must have been just free at some point or something.
It was.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, I'll get a few achievements and just, like, you know, just play. And I loved it because, but I think I'm playing it very similarly to you, where I, like, put it on easy mode. Just, like, it's got a rewind feature, so you can, like, on easy mode, you get, like, up to 10 rewinds or something per race, so you're fine with that.
Yeah.
And it's just really snappy, really quick challenges. You've got races.
Yeah,
you've
2 or
got,
3 laps
You've
done,
got,
yeah.
like, overtaking challenges, you've got like drift challenges and stuff like that, and they're so quick, like 2 minutes pop.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's fine just doing that. Looks good.
It's the same with Forza, because I've got a 360 in my bedroom, because I bought a TV for the living room, moved the one in the bedroom, so I've got like a nice big TV. And because Faye goes to bed earlier than me, so I'm keeping her company, I'll just chuck a game on. And I was playing at one point, like ridiculously full-on RPGs all at once, and I thought, I need something I can chuck on for 20 minutes and
Yeah.
just be done with it. And yeah, chucked on that racing game, put all the settings down, and just enjoyed it. Just unlock all these like 70s and 80s cars. I have no interest in cars, which is why if it was like a full-on simulation, which I'm sure you can set it to,
Yeah.
I wouldn't get the same enjoyment.
Proper crashes as well, good. And what I find amusing though about like especially modern racing games is how hard they try to be really cool and how quickly they date. Because Grid 2 is probably what, 2013, 2014 or something like that,
Mhm.
I guess. And throughout it all, you're not collecting points. You're collecting like followers online, and it's like that sort of thing. So you're building up. You're not building up like money or something like that. You're building up popularity base, and it keeps like has this really over-eager narrator going on about, oh yeah, we got some good hits online after that race, and it's just like, oh, this is dating for my eyes.
Do you remember when there was that thing, and Burnout Paradise did it, and a few other racing games where it was like a woman's voice, and it was like, I remember Burnout Paradise had Paradise City from Guns N' Roses, which is bad enough playing, and it was, welcome to Paradise City, where anything is possible. Oh my god, oh my god, stop talking.
I don't believe it was a functioning city, to be honest. If that was the way they treated their like road infrastructure, it just couldn't function. What else have I been playing? Luigi's Mansion 3 on Switch, obviously.
You like that?
And I did enjoy that. Like I played the original one because there was a sequel on 3DS. I played the original one on GameCube, which I quite liked. And it's pretty much a lot like that. It's the same sort of thing. You're going around, pretty straightforward adventure. You go to different floors. They're all kind of themed differently. So you get like an Egyptian one, you get like an ice one, and this sort of thing. The thing that I probably found most interesting about it was that it did actually have genuine like BioShock for kids vibes about it.
Oh, okay.
Because of the way that like it's like the kind of themed areas and a vaguely kind of steampunky atmosphere, but also this kind of like, it's got this whole thing about each floor you go to, there's some mad person there who's gone bonkers and is like tearing up the place.
Oh,
and so it's all a bit
yeah.
dilapidated, where they've gone completely crazy and just totally unkempt and stuff. And so you end up having to like defeat that boss who's gone bonkers in the hotel, and is obviously a ghost sort of thing,
Yeah.
which is kind of like BioShock, where it's sort of like a dead city sort of thing. So yeah, and you got that kind of Art Deco element as well. So I quite liked that aspect of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so yeah, it's typically
Is it
polished.
multiplayer at all, or is it?
There is a multiplayer mode, yeah.
That's cool.
There's a co-op mode, so yeah, there's some really neat puzzles in it because you have you've got this power basically it's called Gooigi, so it's like a version of you made out of goo who can get through like certain gaps and stuff like that.
Oh, right.
So you're able to kind of move him around whilst, and then flip back to yours, and like kind of like a trine type thing, but with some quite complicated puzzles. So you can leave him doing certain actions while you like holding a door open, sort of thing, so you can get through and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
That's nice.
Quite
And that
neat.
wasn't included in the other two games, I guess.
No, I guess that must. I haven't played the co-op part, but I'm guessing the other person plays.
You know, Luigi is like Luigi, but with goo.
Oh yeah,
'Cause he's made of goo, so...
didn't notice that. Yeah,
I'm surprised you didn't, actually. It's pretty basic.
yeah. Rhymes as well. Torchlight 2.
I got this for free on the PC and I never played it because I realised it was
Yeah.
just like a grindy loot 'em up, so I didn't...
Well, here's news for you. It's actually a really grindy loot 'em up.
Wow. Okay.
It's like Diablo 3 light, basically. It's like a slightly more. It's like,
So you can really run past the enemies.
well, actually, I would say, to its credit, it's got less of the running past enemy stuff that you get in Diablo, possibly. Although,
Is there a natural endpoint to it, or is it just go on and on?
it is very long, and so I haven't finished it because my problem with it is that obviously you're doing the same basic thing a lot in it because it's really grindy, but the targeting seems to be slightly off the entire time. Like, I didn't quite feel that there was enough impact on it.
So this is like... So did you control this with the keyboard and mouse, or...
With the joypad.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So it's kind of a twin stick type thing,
Good.
because obviously I had
Good
like
words.
I think I had like some sort of archer dude.
Unusual.
And everyone has every character has a pet, which is quite handy. But at the same time, you don't have any direct control over it, so it's just like having another character there.
And just do stuff.
Yeah, and it is just Diablo basically, and it runs really really well, good, fine. But at the end of the day, if you're into Diablo, then
You'd be into that.
you'd be into that. And I would say maybe it's slightly more challenging than Diablo. But then I think possibly that's because Diablo has just so many difficulty levels.
Did it remind you at all of... What was that game we played? And it was very much like Diablo. Was it a Warhammer-based thing, or...
Oh, yeah, what was that? That was, That was a Warhammer game, wasn't
And
it?
it was coming hot off the press from Diablo. Playing that
Yeah.
again, I just thought I'm not in the mood for this.
Yeah, we can't. And it's so formulaic. It's just like, yeah, that core gameplay.
We've got a friend called Ben who is like, he must have pumped hundreds of hours into Diablo, and I was sick of it after like 8
I know.
hours. I don't, and he's really not the kind of person you think would be into that. But there's obviously something, like something in someone's brain where they just get hip deep into that. But I just find it so monotonous.
Yeah, well,
After
well, he just got Switch, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, like, and he splurged, like, a lot of money on different games and stuff, like Mario Odyssey, Zelda, stuff like that. Nah, Diablo 3 the whole way. It's all he's been playing.
But I've got no problem with, people like what they like, but it's the one thing, the
But it
constant grinding.
it obviously does capture people's attention and, like, holds
but
them.
I suppose, though, I
But that's
either
what
like
Blizzard
something to be
games-
short and snappy, or like a really cool, like narrative, but it just seems really, and the fact that it's kind of randomly generated, it just seems so aimless.
Yes.
But each to their own.
Yeah, I didn't... It, like, the only game I've really played for, like, hundreds of hours is, like, Left 4 Dead 2, say. Right?
I saw you playing that the other day, by the way.
Good. And the thing about that is that, of course, it's different every time, but also it's like you can play like a chapter of it, and it takes about 40 minutes to an hour, and you can be done, sort of thing. And everything will be, and you'll progress through that, and things will change each time you do it, because of course you're playing with other people. The idea of playing Diablo 3, and like maybe on your own, I guess, and like the same stuff, and it takes so long to get through. Like to cover a map takes about an hour. Like to beat everything in it, it's like I can't imagine how monotonous that would be. It's like,
What was your favourite map on Left 4 Dead 2? I'm assuming you must have one that you. Since you played it for about 600 hours.
I'm a big fan of the Parish. The Parish was the one where it's the very last one of the second game, and it's the one where you're in New Orleans, and so you start off, and you kind of go around like some New Orleans cityscape. You go through a cemetery. It's the one at the end where you've got to get across a huge bridge to get to the other side, and it's just a mad dash across this bridge with all these like zombies coming at you, tank and all this stuff, beating cars at you and stuff, and it's just hilarious because it's so many things can go completely catastrophically wrong at any point, which is brilliant. You can just get knocked off the bridge, instant death.
Yeah, or the moment you run alongside someone, you just see, I'm not going back for them. I'm not going back.
Yeah. So yeah, Torchlight 2, it's like Diablo 3. Yeah. So that's it. I picked up a horror pinball collection really cheap.
Well, like Universal horror sort of stuff, or
No, just like
Generic.
three generic horror pinball tables.
I do like pinball games.
Yeah, well, it was so cheap. It was like 75p or something like that, and I thought, well,
Someone's
why
been
not?
paid.
And it's and they're horror themed, so I thought good, and they're okay. They look okay. They run okay. The music is awful.
On which system is this?
Switch.
Oh, I'm gonna have to buy this. Is it still on offer?
I don't think it is.
Oh, thanks. Because it's probably 90 quid now.
Yeah, it definitely isn't
The
worth.
I think I always find though pinball games are either bad or okay. I've never been blown away by a pinball game unless it's
Pinball
Dragon's
Fan-
Fury.
or Pinball
Pinball
Fantasies.
Fantasies or Pinball Illusions.
Um,
Pinball Illusions.
Pinball Dreams.
Dreams, Fantasies and
So
Illusions.
it's Dreams, Fantasies, Illusions. I never really played Illusions. Fantasies was the one I remember most.
They all blend together in my
Yeah.
mind. I remember the music being amazing on them.
I just think they're a little bit dull, these tables. They're like, okay, but they seem a little bit too close to like real tables. You're thinking, well, it's a game, so you
So you
might
could
as
do, like,
well
cool
have
stuff,
something
yeah.
really elaborate. But yeah, it's okay. Horizon Chase Turbo, which is kind of like a Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge meets Outrun type thing. It's very, very fast.
Is it single player?
It's got 4-player split screen as well.
I've got that next door, by the way. Actually, just saying.
It is good, and it's like it's quite unusual because like there really isn't that much in the way of. It's more of a reaction game because you don't really have to slow down, so it's more like knowing to like turn in time. Really, you occasionally have to take your finger off the accelerator, but that's about it. And it's really fun. And like once you get used to like its very basic rules, like if you hit a car from behind, you slow down a lot. If you hit a car on the side, you slow down a bit. if a car hits you from behind, you'll speed up a little bit, and then you got like a boost, and I don't know, it's quite formulaic, but loads of tracks, all quite different, nice neon style, kind of
What's
aesthetic.
the music like? 80s?
Yeah,
Good.
very synthy, very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's just a really fun little game. So that's Horizon Chase Turbo. Mana Spark, because that was 89p.
I played that, and I could tell it was like an okay game,
Yeah.
but I was not in the right frame of mind for it.
It is an okay game, and I like that the chunky pixel art. Reminded me a bit of the Count Lucanor, which everyone needs to play.
I know, I still need to play that.
Slightly awkward aiming, I found. Maybe it's because it was probably, I guess it was on PC first, so maybe it was like designed with mouse and keyboard in mind. But the really big problem on Switch is the slowdown. It's just a really, really badly optimized port, which like literally like you get to about, I can't remember how many like stages there are, but you get to like the third kind of chapter or whatever, and as soon as there's more than like 3 enemies on the screen, it's just devastating slowdown. Of course, this is a game where it's all about those pixel perfect like moments of dashing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine myself playing it a lot and being quite compulsive, but it just completely stops it dead.
What about isn't there something with the aiming in that? Like when you remember when you aim with the arrow,
Yeah.
it like zooms out or zooms in, or the thing moves a bit.
Yeah,
And I
it's a
found the
weird-
screen shifts, and it was a bit.
Yeah, it was
off-putting.
something about the screen shifting around. Like when you move around obviously with one stick and aim with the other, but when you push the stick to aim, it pushes the screen as well.
Mm.
I think that was the problem. So
I
of
found
course
it really
it's so
off-putting.
twitchy that the screen is constantly, and of course if you've got a little bit of zoom as well, then it's constantly like the screen's twitching
Adjusting,
about and
yeah.
adjusting. Yeah. So yeah, but it would be fine. I'd definitely play all the way through, were it not for its crippling slowdown. So what we're talking about, Mana Spark was and that. Sorry.
Careful.
Oh, I don't want to invoke the wrath of the horned god.
Yeah. No, I've only had 2 cans. You're right.
And that's it's basically unplayable because of the slowdown. But then I played the Tourist with a Y, obviously.
Right.
It's by the same people who made Shinen, who made Fast RMX, which was one of the early, I think it was one of the launch titles or near launch titles.
Oh,
for
that's
the
like a
Switch.
Wipeout-y feature
Yeah,
racing.
and like I don't know what kind of magic they use because it's gorgeous and 60 frames a second, like this Fast RMX, and it's like and it's so tasty, and it's so early on in usually a console will take a
Yes,
while
it
before
just-
you can
yeah,
really
yeah.
push it, but it was instantly just pushing it. Interesting Digital Foundry video about it actually, because it was on Wii. There was a version of it on Wii U before that, and it was pointing out how much more advanced it was, sort of thing, and how impressive it was for
The Wii U?
them to create that. Yeah, on the Wii U, and then on the Switch to do the same. But they've made the Taurus now, which is so different to Fast RMX, because it's like a isometric, voxel-based adventure puzzle game.
That is different.
It's very different, but again, like really, really nice to look at, and 60 frames a second, completely flawless 60 frames a second. I mean, it's not the most complicated, I suppose, but it does look really nice, really crisp, and so you just play this dude, comes to this island, and obviously wearing a Hawaiian shirt. It's all like blocky, almost like Minecraft type thing, but a bit prettier, like less jagged edges, sort of. Well, they're kind of sharp edges, sort of thing. So everything's kind of blocky, but very sharp.
Oh, okay.
And so you arrive on this island, and then you've basically got the overall thing is to get these 4 kind of like orbs or something from these monuments. So when you get into a monument, it's like a bunch of weird kind of strange puzzles that you kind of got to work out on your own. Like you've got to jump on certain platforms in the right order and stuff like that. It's quite cool little puzzles. But then in between, you're going around these different islands, like doing like little quests for people, like going to find like fruit to make a smoothie and stuff like that. And just like it's really cute and like really kind of wholesome kind of like humour, but quite witty at the same time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's just really nice
Is
game.
it like it's not turn? But when you said isometric, I always think turn-based. But
No, it's free roaming sort of thing, so you can run anywhere, and you can move the camera around and all that kind of stuff. Really smooth. Good humour. Quite short. So I think I'd wait until it was like a tenner or something before, because it's like 17 quid or something at the moment, and it's literally, you could blast through it in like 3 or 4 hours, I reckon. Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose if you were wanting to get all the collectibles and stuff like that, but yeah. But yeah, it's got some really nice touches, like you can collect these records, like vinyl, and they are actual tunes from like other Shinen games, because they did like Art of Balance and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And Fast RMX, so obviously you can get these tunes, and you like, it's because it's part of one of the quests, and you give them to this like DJ on a beach, and you can just like choose which one to play, and the little characters dance to the different tunes.
That's quite cool.
So that's pretty neat. And also it's got like a little arcade with like genuinely good versions of like, this is like little.
I think I remember you saying this, that you spent a lot of time.
Oh, so much time, so much. Well, there's this little version of like it's meant to be like Fast RMX, but really it's like F-Zero.
Right.
So it's like a little mini version of F-Zero. But the one I played most was the Breakout one, because it's like a really
I love Breakout.
really
games.
full version of Breakout for no reason in the game. And in the game, the quest is to like beat the high score on it, which is quite challenging. But I kept playing because it's like a really good version of Breakout.
Yeah.
So I was happy to play that for ages.
That's probably
Yeah.
one of my favourite arcade classics is Breakout. I just find it
Yeah,
really just a fun game.
it's very playable.
bat and ball. That's all you need.
That's all you need. It's like a single player Pong. The ending is a bit weird because it's really like quite aggressively opening up for a sequel. And I'm thinking, is this really going to get the kind of traction which is going to allow a sequel? I'm not so sure.
Okay.
Because it seems a bit too niche.
Did it get reviewed well?
Yeah, it got reviewed well, and it probably sell okay. I just can't imagine it really picking up a massive audience, though, because it is a bit odd looking. It's quite difficult to convey in trailers and stuff, because it's so varied in the kind of task you have to do. It's like you can't really sum it up.
That sounds like a game I'd really enjoy.
I think so. I'd wait for a sale, just because it's kind of brief and you haven't really got a reason to go back to it, I wouldn't say, but it's really charming.
I'm a big fan of like mini games in games.
Yeah. At the moment, now I'm playing, so that's The Tourist, with a Y.
With a Y at the end.
Yeah. Not at the beginning. Eurist.
Forest.
Fire Emblem Three Houses I'm playing at the moment, which is a JRPG, which is
Unusual for you.
which is unusual for me.
What-
But I do quite like turn-based, I like
Combat.
strategic turn-based combat rather than. I'm not so much of a fan of like almost like what you call a card-based combat you get now, where it's like, right, okay, just like like you're on one side, they're on the other. It's like choose your next kind of attack or whatever, or defend. Not so much a fan of them. I prefer the isometric ones where you're like getting good positioning and stuff like that.
Right.
I quite enjoy them. So, and it's a good one of them. In between, there's a lot of dialogue naturally.
Yeah.
But it's quite,
Yeah.
but it's quite cleverly woven into the game to make it actually relevant, because usually in these games, especially Japanese games, they're extremely verbose and I just don't care enough.
No.
But the way they made it relevant in this is actually that part of what because the setup of the game is that you come along at the start of the game, you defeat some bandits who are really easy. Instantly, this guy comes along and says, we're going to give you a job as a professor at this like world-renowned university sort of thing.
Fair enough.
It's like, okay,
Just
I
like in
feel
real
like
life.
I'm getting a really good deal here. So you're a professor, and you choose one of the three houses, and you are training your students to who are also your teammates.
You please tell me you're an old fuddy-duddy.
No, you're a total burner. Or, well, you've got a choice of one of two.
Is it like really like 16-bit graphics with a total burner?
No.
She's got a big tail.
No, it's quite like stylized, kind of almost cartoony, kind of sort of, well, like manga style, like anime style, yeah, the voice acting's pretty good, but the way they do it is that between like battles, you've got like a month of like, you can either go and do like quests around the monastery, which is fine, they're okay, they're a bit like shallow, but all the kind of dialogue and relating to other characters actually is relevant, because then you build up like kind of like friendship with them, and that translates into kind of points, so you're able to actually increase their stats more. So it actually helps to be nice to people and actually say the right things to them, if you see what I mean. So it's quite...
That's similar to Attack on Titan.
Right,
isn't
okay,
it?
yeah. And I'm guessing it's similar to Persona, but I've never played it. But, you know.
Persona, just really quickly to sum this up, because I had a conversation with my brother about the Persona games. The worst parts of the Persona games are the combat, because for me, when you Persona 4, which I played, which is admittedly on like the PS2, is kind of going along and there's like a interfamilial chatting and problems and stuff, and that's all fine. But then when you go into like the Persona, the other worlds where you fight the demons and stuff, it just seems like really boxy, repetitive corridors, and I just don't find the two halves meet.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that, because
well,
we
I've
often
never
mention Persona. So
my JRPG knowledge is so minimal, but it seems pretty good so far. I mean, obviously it's a long way to go because it's excessively long, no doubt. And you could already see where it's going in terms of like the three houses are clearly gonna like, because at the moment they're all like in the same monastery and they're all kind of together, but you can see like them starting to fracture sort of thing, and like people going a bit bonkers.
Like they wake up and there's like a dog quack on fire on the letterbox, and they're like, "Oh, I know who's done this." Someone's keying their cars and stuff.
Yeah, there's a bit. It's quite charming and quite wholesome. Like there isn't too much like needless sexualization of students and stuff like that, which I was kind of slightly concerned about. Some of the characters are quite annoying because they're a bit. You get these ridiculously ditzy girls, for example, who have like massive oversized acts. So they're quite clearly they'll go into battle and like absolutely annihilate someone, and then say, "Oh, sorry, did I hurt you?" It's like, nah. So I'm not sure about all that. And I know that there is some way of romancing people in the game, so which does raise some ethical questions about you being a professor romancing your own students who are like all late teens. I'm wondering if they switch some of the ages for these as well.
Oh yeah,
they're all, because some of them are like as young as like 15 or 16, and then they got up to like 18. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you know, like when they've got nothing around the midriff, and it's just like you've got these kind of like tantalizing shadow because they've got such low cut kind of shorts and stuff. It's like really that is just impractical for the battlefield.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's a struggle with that in games as well. Especially, it's always Japanese games. I don't know why. And anytime you like control, like again with this, it's always a load of students.
Yes.
I don't know why they can't just be a load of grizzled old men with drink problems.
That's what he really wants.
Yeah.
What? Not a single person has a drink problem in the game, I think.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's it really. Other than that, what else have I played? I very briefly played Alien Isolation. Because, you know, it's one of our favourites.
We're always coming back to it.
Always coming back to that.
But you were impressed by this on the Switch.
It's just because I want to mention how impressive it is as a port. Because you think about stuff like Mana Spark, you know, and other games we played on Switch where...
American Fugitive.
Or, what was that game called?
Brutal Deluxe.
Sexy Brutale.
Sexy Brutal Deluxe. Speedball 2. Yeah. I bet my brothers.
Sexy Brutale, yeah, again, just... unplayable on Switch because of
it is a shame when that happens.
It's such a shame, especially when it happens with a genuinely amazing game like Sexy Brutale, which is so good on PC, and then just a complete wipeout on Switch. But then,
or a fast RMX.
Wow. But then, yeah, Alien Isolation is like it's. I think there's a Digital Foundry video which goes on about how it's got better image quality than like PS4, and you play it and you think, okay, it's only 30 frames a second, doesn't really matter so much
as long as it's solid 30 frames.
Yeah, exactly, and it is, and it's like it looks amazing, like the lighting and stuff.
When you're in the cupboards, you really get a sense.
You really get a sense, and and
it smell the pine.
Yeah, so although I still hate the gameplay, I think it's very impressive. So if you are a fan of Alien Isolation, it's a very good way to play it.
Cool.
Yeah.
What would you say is your game of the week?
Game of the week. Okay, let's just need to remind myself of what we discussed.
I'll have to have a look at mine as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 is obviously very, very good.
And you're a Nintendo fanboy.
Yeah, although I did enjoy The Tourist a lot.
A separate email, isn't it?
Yeah, so...
I like The Tourist as the one this episode that you've made me think I want to play.
I think if I was going to recommend... Because if you've got a Switch, then you're probably going to you know whether you're going to play Luigi's Mansion. It's like you can't avoid it.
Hmm.
Whereas with The Tourist, you could quite easily miss that, and it would just slip under the radar. So I would say The Tourist would be my...
I'm going to put a link to all these games as well, which is something I haven't done because I've been lazy in the descriptions. So I'm going to put a link to them all.
Mhm.
Or trailers, links to the trailers, I suppose, would make the most sense.
Yeah. So there's
this
your
is my list.
Yeah.
With Super Epic as well. It's probably just going to be Trine 4. I did for a single player game, like Fractured Minds is a neat little thing, and I hope that does get a little bit of recognition because it's cool. Ritual Crown of Thorns is a good single player game. Sparklight's funky, but I think Trine 4 just because we laughed
Yeah,
when we played that.
so
We
funny.
laughed, and I do like laughing.
All right.
I've never done it. I've
Yeah,
seen
it's
people do
weird.
it.
Yeah, it's
Because
strange.
it's like, but then it's like a noise as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like a kind of rhythmic, kind of
Like a diaphragm.
almost like you almost can't fight it. It's weird. It's like a rhythmic kind of like gasping for breath.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like that. Yeah,
That's how my father used to laugh. He used to drink these magic potions.
yeah. He was a wizard, wasn't he? You know?
Yeah, the Wizard of Booze. That was generally one of the working titles for the Wonder Boy game. And the
Really?
Wizard of Booze, yeah. I think they actually asked my dad to do the voice acting. But it would, you turn into a lizard or something, and then you open the door and there's an old man in there going, why? But they said, oh no, we'll just do something else, 'cause that's crap.
Yeah, it's an awful idea.
Mm.
Well, egg on their face, eh? Because no one remembers it now.
Deviled eggs on their face. Eggs Benedict on their face.
Don't say it.
He loves it. Yeah, so next time we're going to be meeting up on the 14th, and I think we're going to talk about. I was thinking Games of the Year, but then Rupert said da, 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 da. And when he'd finished doing an impression of a telegram, he said Games of the Decade because it's 2020. So that's hard. I found that really difficult to.
I enjoyed creating my lists. I'm still switching things out.
Oh really?
Yeah.
There's going to be so many honourable mentions, like in
Yeah,
the
there's
horror
gonna be a
episode. What about and then you said I was saying like the worst of the last 10 years, but you said the most disappointing.
I think
most
that's
personally disappointing, which is good because
it's like films, isn't it? It's like there's so much trash out there that you're never going to watch or play in terms of games because it comes out and it gets terrible reviews and you're not going to play it or watch it, so therefore why would you ever play it? So yeah, I think for me it's more I'm interested in those games where you've been excited for it for whatever reason
and then crushingly disappointed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay then, I'm going to shoehorn Hello Neighbour in there somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Actually, well, I mean, obviously, if it comes to something like that. But then you'd think, well, even on paper, Hello Neighbour isn't that great an idea. But, okay, I mean, you can have... we need to talk about Hello Neighbour. Because it's
We need to draw attention
because we
to it.
need to stop it from selling copies. I feel it's like our duty.
Yeah.
Because people are getting hoodwinked.
Ported around and like talks
And
of
they
a
keep having
sequel.
all these
It's like,
spin-offs and stuff. What?
Yeah.
What is
I
happening?
don't know. It was one of those things that when I mean, the reviews are bad. We'll talk about it next time anyway, but oh my god. So, games of the week then from me were Trine 4 and from you, The Tourist.
The Tourist.
With
The
a Y.
Tourist.
And then next time I'll have loads of notes for the last 10 years.
Sounds good. We're going to talk about every game released in the last 10 years. So.
I might have 2 lagers if we're going to do that.
Yeah, well, definitely not. It's not going to be a 330mm, let me tell you.
It'd be good if it was called Fire Emblem The 3 Lagers.
That would be a long time to spend on 3 lagers. 80-hour JRPG. Bloody hell, this is getting warm.
Fire Emblem and the 3 Karl Lagerfelds. And you have to like spend 80 hours working out which one's the real Karl Lagerfeld.
That would be
Whilst he
different,
drinks
yeah.
lager.
I'm not sure that would have the same broad appeal.
Bye.
Bye.